Her name was Meyer. A woman of state, skilled in witchcraft, she devoted herself to helping her beloved ascend to the throne. Yet, she was tragically betrayed. Today was the day of the new emperor's coronation in the Holy Otto Empire. The palace was filled with joyous celebrations, music and revelry echoing through the night. Guards dragged a young woman into the grand hall, shattering the festive atmosphere. This woman was Meyer. Today was supposed to be her coronation as empress. Instead, she found herself shackled and a prisoner. The guards roughly shoved her to the ground, forcing her to kneel. Meyer looked up, her eyes widening in shock. The one who had ordered her arrest was none other than Duke Godwin. The man before her showed no pity. Instead, he wore a smug expression, his arm around another beautiful woman. "Your Majesty, the national teacher has arrived." "Isn't this disgraceful for you, Duke Godwin?" the woman taunted. Hearing the woman's sarcastic taunts, Meyer roared at her to shut up. The woman feigned distress, clinging to Godwin's arm. Godwin, in turn, defended her, scolding Meyer for her increasingly unruly behavior. Meyer, unable to understand or accept this, demanded to know why, questioning Godwin. The other woman walked directly up to Meyer. "Did you really think His Majesty would fall in love with you? Don't be delusional. If it weren't for your prophetic abilities, Brother Godwin wouldn't even look at you. Why should I hold back any longer? I still haven't become the official empress." Meyer slapped the woman's hand away, "That you're not worthy." She then continued, mentioning the numerous nobles along the Rhine and the rebellion of the Trier Diocese parishioners. "That you're dealing with me now? Aren't you afraid the empire will collapse?" Before Meyer could finish her thought, the other woman slapped her across the face. "Do you think Brother Godwin can't do without you? The Holy Otto Empire's knights ensure the people's peace and prosperity. This is all thanks to His Majesty. What are you? Don't you dare point fingers at His Majesty." Meyer had never peered into the hearts of those she trusted, but now she felt compelled to do so. Suddenly, she understood. "I pour my heart and soul into you, and in return, you suspect me, so?" Godwin walked down and embraced the other woman. He then spoke to Meyer. "Half the cabinet ministers obey your every word. You single-handedly train the knights. Add to that your ability to peer into hearts and predict fates. I can't rest easy while you live." The other woman seized the opportunity to pledge her loyalty. "Our Lothar family is different. We will always be loyal to you, acting according to your will, with no divided loyalties." Godwin then told Meyer to go to the forest without worry. "The Dietrich clan is already waiting for you below." Meyer was shocked. Her own family had been implicated as well. Her heart was broken. Overwhelmed by grief and guilt, Meyer was charged the next day with disrupting the Holy Otto Empire and harming His Majesty, Emperor Henry III. She was sentenced to be burned at the stake. Her face was pale, but her eyes held a newfound determination. "Godwin, I was blind. Fortune and misfortune are intertwined. Today, with my blood as a guide." Seeing the situation take a turn, Godwin quickly ordered his men to burn her, preventing her from finishing her words. A light flashed above the pyre. "Be why the heavens above, I offer my soul. Grant me the power to change my fate. Everything he possesses, I will take with my own hands. Everything he desires, I will personally destroy. I will make sure he suffers for all eternity." The ritual was successful. Meyer traveled back in time, waking up in a ditch. This place seemed unfamiliar to her. Looking at her dark clothes and her hands, paler than before, they didn't seem like her own. She suddenly wondered, "Is this me?" Suddenly, unfamiliar memories flooded her mind. "Wig, come over here, brother. Get out of here, all of you. I'm not eating, princess. What is this?" Meyer climbed out of the ditch, finding a stable foothold. She began to ponder the strange memories. These are my memories. An imperial brother, surrounded by so many handsome men, and this spoiled, willful personality. Meyer touched the half-mask on her face. "Oh no, could this be my nemesis? The Phantom Princess, Hedwig, and this place, it was the Forgotten Forest, where she had orchestrated the Phantom Princess's demise in her past life. In her past life, Meyer had led the Silver-Winged Knights to capture the Phantom Princess here. Princess, it seems I've won in the end. Who has won and who has lost is yet to be seen. The Phantom Princess used black magic to fight back. Meyer had already foreseen the Phantom Princess's fate. Resistance is futile. You're destined to fall here. The Forgotten Forest will be your grave. Is that so? I wonder if Master Doctor has seen her own fate. Perhaps Master Doctor will perish alongside me today. The Phantom Princess then summoned thorny vines, restricting the Silver-Winged Knight's movements. Mayer replied, saying her fate had long been decided, her reputation preceding her, accompanying her fall. The raised staff emitted bursts of light, a dazzling radiance that instantly dispelled the Ghost Princess's dark magic. This light was the Ghost Princess's weakness. Her magic was suppressed. The Spectral Knights seized the opportunity and surged forward. They swung their long swords at the Ghost Princess, who instinctively retreated. Unexpectedly, she stumbled and fell into a bottomless abyss. The Ghost Princess's fate should have ended there. However, after falling into the abyss, Mayer's soul transmigrated into this body, becoming the Ghost Princess. Mayer finally climbed up from the cliffside, determined to leave this place as quickly as possible. The sound of approaching footsteps grew louder. The Silver-Winged Knights had arrived sooner than expected. Mayer found a corner to hide and looked towards the forgotten jungle. Although her soul was revived, her destiny might not necessarily change. She thought it best to avoid the forgotten jungle. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through her chest, and a voice spoke. "Where have you gone, my princess?" Mayer wondered if this was a memory fragment or a remnant of dark magic. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in the sky, attracting her attention. At the same time, she heard the sound of footsteps behind her and a strange voice. "You are here, princess. Weren't these the men her brother had sent?" Mayer asked warily. "Who are you? Why are you leading the Imperial Knights?" "I apologize, but the Duke has ordered us not to let you return alive." The situation was dire. Mayer tried to use her holy magic, but there was no response. She realized that in this borrowed body, she couldn't access her holy powers. The Silver-Winged Knights had completely surrounded her. Mayer then tried to use dark magic, but she had no idea how. Unable to use magic and facing so many enemies, her chances of winning were slim. Her only option was to flee. She turned and quickly escaped into the depths of the jungle. The leader of the pursuit remained calm, not rushing to follow. The Ghost Princess had been implanted with a tracking worm. As long as the mother worm existed, she could be found anywhere. Mayer ran for a while, and, noticing she wasn't being pursued, sensed something was amiss. A strange figure flashed through her mind. Mayer wondered who it was. Then, a sharp pain stabbed her heart. Clutching her chest, she thought, could it be the tracking worm? Not far away, a beautiful man was leisurely enjoying a hot spring. Hearing the commotion in the jungle, he dressed and, with a swift movement, leaped into a tree to observe. He saw Mayer setting up wards around herself. She took a knife and, without hesitation, cut into her chest. With a cry of pain, the worm was pulled out. The beautiful man witnessed everything, praising with amusement. "What an interesting lady." Meanwhile, her pursuers caught up. "Your courage is admirable, princess, but won't change anything." Mayer had anticipated this. She sighed as the leader approached, triggering the wards she had set. The wards were easily dispelled. The leader scoffed, "Such a weak trap. A waste of time." "Is that so?" Mayer didn't seem afraid. She even appeared confident. Although she couldn't use most dark magic, she had witnessed the Ghost Princess's thornbush spell. Thorny vines erupted from the ground, entangling the pursuers' limbs and torsos, immobilizing them. Mayer cast another spell, silently pleading, "Father, please help me." The ground cracked open, forming deep fissures that swallowed her enemies. This was a technique of the Forest Whisper clan, one Mayer could still manage to use. Victory seemed within reach. Suddenly, a giant python emerged from a fissure, its tongue flicking as the leader stood upon its head, vowing to kill her. Mayer stared in disbelief. How is this possible? Despair washed over her as she collapsed to the ground. "Spectral Knights, a trap. It's too late now. Don't worry, princess. I'll make sure you savor the agony of being tortured." After the leader finished speaking, he commanded the pythons to surge towards Mayer in a ferocious wave. Mayer watched helplessly as she was about to become food for these beasts. She had reached her limit. "Is this it? Even as the Ghost Princess, I can't escape this fate," she lamented. Suddenly, two flashes of sword light struck, staining the ground crimson. The monstrous pythons, just moments ago, so menacing, instantly recoiled. "Umph, such a lack of chivalry to corner a lady like this," a voice scoffed. The leader roared, "Who are you to interfere in the Duke's affairs?" "A mere Duke dares to flaunt his authority before me," the man retorted. The leader faltered at the man's response. Who are you?" Montak Xian. With a flick of his wrist, Imo Xian appeared before the leader with lightning speed. The leader let out a wretched cry and collapsed to the ground, lifeless. Imo Xian then ordered his men to clean the area, leaving no trace behind. He then gently lifted the unconscious mayor and instructed his servants to bring medicine and bandages to the room. After a long while, Mayor awoke with a start. I'm alive. She noticed her ghost princess attire and mask were gone, and she was still in the forgotten jungle. Mayor pondered. In her previous life, the ghost princess had indeed perished in the forgotten jungle. But now, her wounds were still present, the pain palpable. This wasn't a dream. Had she successfully altered the ghost princess's fate and survived? But something felt amiss. She was still in the forgotten jungle. The danger hadn't passed. A chuckle interrupted her thoughts. Who are you, going from relief to despair so quickly? You're quite amusing. Imo Xian approached her, took a deep breath, and introduced himself politely. I'm Imo Xian. It's my duty to tend to your wounds. Though I must say you have a heavy hand. That blow nearly pierced your heart. So try not to move too much. Mayor asked, you treated my wounds? Imo Xian seemed flustered, his eyes darting around. Well, there weren't any other women around, and, well, there was no other way. Mayor pulled the blanket up and said, desperate times call for desperate measures. Thank you. Then, after a pause, you said your name was Imo Xian? Imo Xian, the heir of the Azure Prince. Mayor suddenly became agitated. Imo Xian nodded slowly. You know me? Mayor recalled that in her previous life, Imo Xian, the Azure Prince's heir, had always been frail and ultimately succumbed to illness. His death occurred mere days after the ghost princess's demise. Mayor thought if Imo Xian was also in the forgotten jungle, perhaps he was somehow caught up in the pursuit that led to the ghost princess's death. After all, with the spectral knights involved, it wouldn't be difficult to disguise a murder as an illness. If that were the case, her presence here might inadvertently lead to his death. Imo Xian, noticing Mayor's worried expression, leaned closer and flicked her forehead lightly. You're thinking too much. It's not good for your recovery. Mayor felt a sense of urgency. We need to leave here quickly. She muttered to herself. Neither Godwin nor the spectral knights are merciful. Staying here will put you in danger. Imo Xian seemed to ignore her, gently pushing her back down. Just focus on healing. I'll handle the rest. He settled her back onto the bed, urging her to rest. Then, standing beside her, he asked her name. Mayor hesitated, feeling a mix of confusion and embarrassment. She was now inhabiting the ghost princess's body. She was no longer Mayor. She stammered, My name is Hidewig. Hidewig, a beautiful name. Imo Xian smiled and told her to rest, then left the room. As soon as he stepped out, the head servant reported, Young master, 2 groups of knights searching for fugitives have already come. I managed to send them away by invoking the Azure Prince's name, but they won't give up easily. Imo Xian's expression remained impassive, though his body was slowly being encased in ice. Calmly, he said, they fire their warning shots. Now they'll bring out the big guns. The head servant worried about his young master's health, fearing he wasn't fit for another fight. Imo Xian simply shook his head. It's nothing. Their blatant disregard is a challenge to the entire Azure Prince's household. He then instructed the head servant to help him to the hot springs. He needed to melt the ice that was consuming him. Meanwhile, Mayor slipped out of the room, determined to leave as soon as possible. She was almost discovered in the hallway. Thankfully, she dodged just in time. After they left, Mayor breathed a sigh of relief and quickly ran to the main entrance. She gently pushed the door open and saw a picturesque scene. What a beautiful estate. Mayor couldn't help but exclaim inwardly. As expected of the prince's estate, even the wilderness, he can build such a refined, wild ghost. It's truly breathtaking. She admired the scenery as she walked. Suddenly, a hand grabbed her ankle, pulling her into the water. Mayor panicked, about to yell, there's a ghost. But the hot spring wasn't deep at all. She steadied herself and opened her eyes to see Imo Xian soaking in the hot spring. Before she could react, Imo Xian pulled her head into his embrace and said in a doting voice, I told you to rest, but you wouldn't listen, would you? Mayor was a little shy. Thinking of the head servant, Imo Xian said in a commanding tone, don't move. There's someone here. Mayor became alert. Glancing behind her, Imo Xian coughed twice towards the bamboo grove. How long do you all plan to watch? Immediately, The hidden servants, as if on cue, lit all the torches. The silver-winged knights hiding in the bamboo grove were all revealed. Please forgive us, young master. We are only doing our duty. We had no choice but to resort to this. And Mo Xian, holding the beautiful mayor in his arms, retorted, and your duty is to hide in the walls and peep at me with a beautiful woman? Outrageous. One of the knights still wouldn't give up, whispering the woman in his arms might be Princess Hidewig. The knight captain yelled at him to shut up, deliberately loud enough for Mo Xian to hear. Mo Xian wasn't fazed. What? Do you also want to soak in a hot spring with this young master's woman? His words frightened the silver-winged knight into immediately apologizing and promising to leave at once. Forget it. You've been lurking around my door for 2 days. If I don't let you investigate, it would seem like I'm defying the royal decree. Mo Xian wanted to give these knights an explanation and clear his own name. So, he ordered the head servant to lead them to thoroughly inspect the entire villa, threatening, if you dare to linger after the search, don't blame this young master for being impolite. Thank you for your understanding, young master. The silver-winged knight captain expressed his gratitude and followed the head servant to search the villa. Hearing the footsteps fading away, Mayor dared to raise her head and ask, are they gone? Looking at the beautiful Mayor, Mo Xian shyly turned his head away. Mayor noticed blood seeping from her wound. She thought it might be from soaking in the water for too long. Mo Xian reassured her, this hot spring has strong healing properties. The wound is just cleansing. Hearing this, Mayor felt that the pain did seem to lessen. At that moment, the head servant came to report that the knights had been sent away. Princess Hidewig's mask and clothes have been destroyed in advance. They won't find anything. Mayor's head tilted with a large question mark above it. Destroyed? With my permission. Mo Xian, seeing her distressed expression, felt sorry for her. He walked over and draped a robe over her. Don't worry, I'll compensate you tenfold for the clothes. Saying this, he carried Mayor back to the room. Looking at the many women's items, Mayor couldn't help but exclaim, I didn't expect you, a man, to have such a large dressing room for a girl. Mo Xian coughed to hide his embarrassment. Well, these were all left by my mother. Choose something suitable to wear. Looking at the clothes, Mo Xian also thought of his mother. Such a big room can't be wasted. It should all be filled with cute little dresses. Mother, you don't even live here. My dear child, if you're recuperating here, of course, Mother has to come and see you often. Mayor, having changed clothes, open the curtains, this will do. Practical and convenient. Mo Xian's eyes lit up as he looked at Mayor. Thank you for these past 2 days, but I have to go now, Mayor said calmly, walking to the window. Have you decided already? Mo Xian, hearing such a firm answer, subconsciously wanted to stop her. I'm afraid you'll have to stay for 2 more days. The Silverwing Knights found nothing here, so they'll definitely intensify their search of the forest. It's too dangerous to go out now. And your wounds haven't healed yet. Mayor didn't directly answer his question, but looked into the distance. Look, that's her destiny. Mo Xian looked at Mayor with some confusion. Your life force is large but dim. It indicates a noble Sun Fun, but an uncertain destiny. An uncertain destiny? That's an apt description of me. Mayor didn't refute him, acknowledging his words. Mo Xian continued, you are the daughter of the Azure Prince. Your future should have been peaceful and smooth. This misfortune is all because of me. You saved me. I don't want to be the cause of your death, so I'll leave tomorrow morning. Mayor finished speaking and turned to leave. Mo Xian scratched his head, thinking this woman was really talking to herself. But recalling Mayor's words, he felt a touch of emotion, the corners of his mouth curving slightly upwards. Truly stubborn and sensitive. At this moment, unbeknownst to them, Mo Xian's life force began to grow large and bright. Early the next morning, Mo Xian had a carriage prepared for Mayor. Since you made up your mind, I won't stop you. This carriage will take you to Buronxing Pass. No one dares stop my carriages. Thank you. Mayor expressed her gratitude sincerely and then boarded the carriage. Finally, she poked her head out and called, I hope you take care of yourself. May we meet again? Mo Xian smiled and waved, indicating he understood. The head servant approached. Suddenly remembering something, the head servant said to Mo Xian with shock, Young master, you haven't soaked in the hot springs today. Mo Xian looked at his hands, also puzzled. Could it be? Well, no, I still can't feel the temperature. However, Emoshien's body was indeed not freezing at this moment. He suddenly recalled bathing in the hot springs with Mayor yesterday. Could it be because of her? He immediately instructed the head servant to inform his father that he would return to the imperial capital in a few days. Meanwhile, Mayor, now the ghost princess, had also embarked on the arduous journey back to the imperial capital, stepping back into the treacherous world of politics. The Holy Otto Empire was a federal empire uniting church and state, formed by the union of 7 large provinces. Surrounding the central imperial capital of Vidi were the Duchy of Bavaria, the Brandenburg-Blouin Diocese, the Duchy of Posen, the Diocese of Mainz, and the Diocese of Trier. The heads of these provinces constituted the peak of imperial power, forming the Privy Council and electing the emperor. Currently, 6 Azure princes, including Emoshien's father, Duke Bach, Marquis Lothar, Archbishop of Mainz, Archbishop of Boulogne, and Archbishop of Trier, held the power to elect the emperor of the Holy Otto Empire. Upon the death of the current emperor, these 6 would vote to choose a successor from among the royal family based on potential and documented achievements. Mayor was getting closer and closer to the land of her revenge. Reborn, even if the road ahead was filled with cliffs and precipices, she would never back down. She soon arrived at Yorktown, a crucial hub for north-south trade. From here, she only needed to travel north for 3 or 4 days to reach the imperial capital. Make way. Make way. Step aside. Step aside. Mayor, unsure of the situation, inquired with a passerby and learned that it was the Prime Minister's wife's motorcade. Every 4 years on this day, the Prime Minister's wife brought her newly adult family members to the Holy Light Chapel to celebrate the Prime Minister's wife's longevity. Mayor suddenly understood. This was the Lothar family's ritual at the chapel. On April 5th, 221 years into the Nonoli era, the family of Prime Minister Marquis Lothar traveled to the Holy Light Chapel for a 3-day longevity ceremony. However, in that very year, the chapel was attacked by a group of bandits. The Lothar family's eldest daughter, second daughter, and sixth daughter were all kidnapped. Ultimately, the eldest daughter was killed, the second daughter was assaulted, and the sixth daughter disappeared without a trace. If not for this tragedy, how could Lilith, the illegitimate fourth daughter, have risen to her current position? The thought of that wretch Lilith filled Mayor with hatred. She secretly vowed, "In this life, I won't let you have your way again." At this moment, the Prime Minister's wife's carriage passed through the crowd. Lilith, feigning a docile appearance, sat inside. Lilith sat obediently beside Cece, the Lothar family's eldest daughter. Seeing the Holy Light Chapel, Cece hurried out of the carriage, exclaiming in admiration, "It's like a castle." Lilith solicitously stepped forward to support her sister. "Slow down, sister. Be careful. That bastard child is so lowly." The second daughter, Vivian, muttered, unable to stand the sight. The third daughter, Mia, complained dramatically, "Do we have to stay in this place for 3 days?" "How annoying," Vivian muttered. "Lilith acts all pitiful, as if eldest sister treats her so badly." "I willingly serve eldest sister." Cece is a very upright and kind person. Seeing Lilith's seemingly humble demeanor, Cece immediately stood up for her. "Lilith is our sister too." "You can't be so unreasonable, Vivian. Eldest sister is so magnanimous," Mia remarked, "but you should be careful. Maybe she inherited her mother's bad genes and will scheme against you too." "Vivian, Mia, mind your words." Hearing their bickering, the Prime Minister's wife walked over and ordered them to stop. "You are all daughters of the Lothar family, potential future mistresses of Rhine Palace. Do not forget your status." Standing behind the Prime Minister's wife was the sixth daughter, Hansi. The four sisters, though resentful, dared not speak out of turn. Even Vivian, harboring discontent, dared not defy her mother. Entering the main hall, the Archbishop greeted them warmly. "Welcome, esteemed ladies. The guest rooms are ready. The sisters will lead you there. Please follow me." Mayor, now disguised as a nun, observed the Prime Minister's wife. She was determined to investigate the Li by Tang bloodbath. Cece, finding Mayor attractive, asked her name. "Wig, my esteemed Mississippi." "Oh, the same name as the Ghost Princess. How lovely. I'm Cece Lothar." Cece, without a trace of guile, introduced herself warmly. Such a pure and kind person, Mayor thought, yet she will suffer such hardship in the future. She felt a pang of regret. Arriving at the guest quarters, the Prime Minister's wife was settled in first. Hansi wanted to stay next to her mother. Lilith, however, clung affectionately to Cece's arm. "Sister, let's stay downstairs." I'll stay next to you. We can look after each other. Mia chimed in, also wanting to stay next to Cece. Humph, a bunch of clingy pests. Vivian sneered, her jealousy evident. Mia turned, ready to start a fight. Gouffon over ceci. Have you all forgotten Mother's warning? Hearing their mother mentioned, both were momentarily subdued, but continued to glare at each other. Mayer observed their complex dynamic. While Cece prayed alone, Mayer asked her about their strained relationships. We're not actually blood sisters, Cece patiently explained. Vivian and Mia are my third and fourth uncle's daughters. Hansi is a distant cousin's daughter, but Hansi's mother and my mother are sisters, so Mother takes special care of her. As for Lilith, she's quite pitiful. She's from the countryside. It's said she's Father's illegitimate daughter with a village girl, so everyone ostracizes her. Pitiful. It's just a facade, Mayer thought, her disgust apparent. Why do you all call your stepmother Mother? She asked. Cece continued. Unlike other nobles, the Lothar family originated as servants to the royal family. We are raised to serve. All the girls from the Lothar family branches are raised by the main house and trained to be refined ladies. In the future, we will enter the palace to serve the royal family. The most exceptional among us will become His Majesty's wife. Others become ladies-in-waiting, head chefs, or housekeepers. Mayer finally understood the tension. It was like raising a stable of contenders. The power dynamics were complex. The Li Bai Tang bloodbath was likely more complicated than the rumor suggested. Bandits kidnapped fifth miss, but didn't target Mia or the fourth daughter sleeping nearby. Yet, they also took Vivian, who lived farther away. Mia and Lilith must be involved. To welcome the Prime Minister's wife, the Archbishop of Li Bai Tang held a grand banquet. Cece, observing Mayer's elegant dining etiquette, exclaimed, "Wow, Wig, you're like a noble lady." Mayer demurred, "Just a coincidence. But you definitely aren't the ghost princess. You're so elegant and beautiful. How could you be that old hag?" Cece, initially suspicious, now dismissed the idea, speaking without reservation. That old hag, Mayer thought, a bitter taste in her mouth. Cece continued, "She's notorious. Cold-blooded, cruel, greedy, and lecherous. She must have used black magic and become old and ugly. That's why she has to hide behind an iron mask." Mayer touched her face. "I'm not that ugly, am I?" Suddenly, Cece began to cry, "I hate the ghost princess the most. My brother was taken by her to be her emperor consort. I haven't seen him in 5 years. He used to be so good to me." Cece sobbed uncontrollably. Mayer comforted her, "Don't worry. Your brother will come back." Suddenly, Vivian approached with a wine bottle, offering Cece a drink. Cece, her voice choked with tears, agreed. Mayer offered to pour, but Vivian refused. "No need to trouble you. I'll do it." Vivian, who always looked down on Cece, was acting strangely agreeable today. Mayer felt something was amiss. Then, Vivian very elegantly told me about the hidden mechanism in the center of the ring, and the secret dripped out along with it. Nothing escaped Mayer's eyes. So, that's what she was planning. Mayer glanced at the bottle of wine on the table. She subtly shifted her arm, trying to make it look like an accident as she knocked it over. "Oh dear, I'm so sorry." Vivian immediately turned spiteful, cursing under her breath. Mayer apologized while cleaning up the mess. Then, with speed undetectable to others, she switched the 2 wine glasses. Vivian continued to grumble, telling her to hurry up and finish cleaning. Then, picking up her wine glass, Vivian's expression changed dramatically. With utmost sincerity, she said, "Eldest sister, I apologize for any past offenses. I sincerely hope you can forgive me. I promise there won't be any more unpleasantness between us." "It's all right. Don't worry about it." Cece, in her naivete, never suspected she was being set up. Vivian watched as Cece drank the wine in one gulp. Her face instantly darkened. "This stuff works fast. Just you wait, my dear eldest sister." After taking just a couple of steps, Vivian wondered why she suddenly felt so nauseous. Her vision blurred, and everything started to feel hot. "Do I look beautiful?" Vivian asked, as if she had become a different person. Then, clinging to Cece, she pleaded, "Help me, I'm so hot." Cece, confused, thought Vivian was simply drunk. Receiving no response, Vivian began to undress herself. Cece panicked, telling her to stop and behave. Suddenly, she felt a shadow looming behind her. It was the Prime Minister's wife, her face grim. Cece quickly implored Mayer to take Vivian back to her room. Then, with a graceful curtsy, she addressed the Prime Minister's wife. "Mother, we'll excuse ourselves now." Mayer, dragging the delirious Vivian, passed by Vivian's room but didn't enter. Instead, she headed straight for Cece's room. Cece, puzzled, said, this is my room. That's right. We're not going to her room. We're going to where she should be, Mayer replied firmly. Mayer had already figured out Vivian's plan, drug Cece, then stage a scene to ruin her reputation. Now, all they had to do was wait. This was a perfect opportunity for Cece to witness true evil. Mayer, in her past life, had been a powerful sorceress, helping her lover ascend to the throne, only to be betrayed and burned alive. Unexpectedly, she was reborn into the body of her nemesis, the Ghost Princess, on her path back to the political arena of the Holy Otto Empire. She became entangled in the Lothar family's bloody affairs. Mayer placed the unconscious Vivian on the bed, and then hid in the wardrobe with Cece, waiting for the culprit. Seeing Vivian's discomfort, Cece wanted to go out and help her. Mayer hushed her, warning her to be quiet. Someone was coming. It was one of the Prime Minister's guards. He tiptoed into the room. Vivian eagerly embraced him from behind. The guard said, "Don't be impatient, my eldest Mississippi." Hearing him address Vivian as eldest Miss, Cece was shocked. The guard, faced with Vivian's enthusiastic invitation, began to ravish her. Cece, unable to bear the sight, was about to intervene, but Mayer stopped her. Vivian set this trap herself. She should suffer the consequences. The following scene is not suitable for minors. After the deed was done, no one came to catch them in the act. Instead, the guard stuffed Vivian into a sack and carried her away. Mayer finally understood. The kidnapping case from her past life, this was how it happened. She rushed out of the wardrobe, telling Cece to stay put. But Cece grabbed her, insisting on going together. She argued that this was targeted at her, and if she didn't face it head-on, she wouldn't be worthy of being a Lothar. Seeing Mayer's hesitation, Cece pleaded with her, promising not to be a burden. Mayer finally relented, making Cece promise to stay safe. The Lothar family couldn't afford to be manipulated by those with ulterior motives. The guard carried Vivian deep into the forest and whistled. The real kidnappers emerged from the shadows. The guard threw the sack to the ground. The bandit questioned why there was only one. The guard swore with certainty that he had arranged to meet Vivian here, and she would show up soon. The bandit opened the sack and saw that the person inside was completely different from the one their boss described. The guard panicked. How could it be Vivian? The bandit turned to leave, saying he would immediately retrieve Cece's head. Unexpectedly, Hannah appeared and asked what he was doing. The guard, however, wasn't flustered. Instead, he asked Hannah why she was there. Hannah saw her sister Vivian in the sack and heard the man in front of her threaten to kill Cece. She was confused. The man in front of her had promised to elope with her tonight. Hannah, not wanting to wait a moment longer, had come early just to see him. But why? The guard acted as if he had done nothing wrong, saying that elopement always comes with a price, and assured Hannah he would keep her safe. Blinded by love, Hannah obeyed him. Cece, unable to stand it any longer, emerged from behind a tree, urging Hannah to come to her and not be fooled by the guard's sweet talk. Mayer thought to herself that she shouldn't have brought him along out of pity. The guard was shocked to see Cece there. Cece reached out again, urging Hannah to come to her side and not be deceived. Hannah burst into tears, saying she never wanted to return to the Lothar family. She lamented that she was just an ordinary girl, not naturally beautiful like Cece, not clever like Vivian, and without the skills of Mia and Lilith. She was destined to be nothing. Thinking of her aunt, Hannah cried even harder. She knew her aunt's expectations, but she could never meet them in this lifetime. She didn't want to enter the palace at all. Her aunt was suffocating her. Only with this man did she feel free. Hearing Hannah's confession for the first time, Cece felt conflicted that if you don't want to enter the palace, I will help you talk to Mother. But that scoundrel is only deceiving you. Just now, he put Vivian in that sack. Hannah looked disbelieving. How could this be? Knowing he was exposed, the guard showed his true colors, shoving Hannah aside. He then turned to Cece, saying, "Since you've come to me, don't blame me for being impolite." He was once a respected royal tutor, second only to the emperor, but now he was reduced to a common thug. To save the Lothar family's eldest daughter, they were pursued by ghost soldiers. Just now, Mayer had used a thorn spell, binding the bandit who was about to attack Cece. Seeing the situation turn unfavorable, the guard targeted Cece directly. He believed that if he eliminated Cece, all his problems would be solved. Cece, however, wasn't afraid. She assumed a fighting stance. Her brother was the capital's top knight, and she was no pushover either. With a leap forward, she tackled the guard to the ground. Mayer was stunned by Cece's fierce moves. After dealing with these small fries, we'll just wait for the mastermind to show themselves. Mayer had already guessed the mastermind and was waiting for their hypocritical mask to be unveiled. But she suddenly realized that with Cece's abilities, she couldn't have possibly died at the hands of a disorganized mob in her past life. Just as she suspected an ambush, a cold arrow shot from behind. Mayer shielded Cece and was struck by the arrow. For ease of movement, Mayer, enduring the pain, asked Cece to help break off the arrow shaft. Coupled with her earlier spell casting, the injury on her other side reopened. Cece, seeing Mayer's condition, angrily shouted towards a forest, "Cowardly ambush! Shameless and dishonorable! Show yourself if you dare!" A scornful laugh echoed, followed by the appearance of several figures in black and gold robes, adorned with the insignia of the imperial family. Ghost soldiers again. Mayer's eyes held a mixture of anger and fear. She was surprised to see them here. In her past life, Cece's death, Lilith becoming prime minister, and Godwyn's ascension to the throne. It all made sense now. Mayer finally understood. That treacherous pair had been colluding from the beginning. They orchestrated bloodshed to elevate Godwyn, then used Lilith to manipulate the Lothar family, ultimately achieving their respective positions of power. What cunning and ruthless tactics! The leader of the Ghost Soldiers feigned remorse, saying they had no choice but to resort to such measures against a witch. Recognizing the leader as someone from her past life, Mayer felt a surge of hope. Sarcastically, she said, "So it's the perpetual runner-up of the Rhine tournament, the rejected candidate for the Imperial Guard, Godwyn's loyal lapdog, the Rose Knight, Geraint. Such chivalrous conduct from you is hardly surprising." Geraint said with an embarrassed look, "My lady, you jest. Someone like you, competing every year, yet losing every year to her older brother, the Imperial Capital's second knight. You can only bully his younger sister due to geographical advantage, right? You act all noble and righteous on the surface, but who knows how much dirty work you've done behind the scenes." "Nonsense!" Geraint, exposed, flew into a rage. "Then do you have the guts to duel with me? Let's see how much stronger the first knight's sister is than you." Cece seized the opportunity to challenge him. Geraint thought, what a stupid provocation. But his knightly pride forced him to accept Cece's challenge. So he ordered a horse and sword prepared for Cece. Without a word, Cece, her gaze resolute, spurred her horse towards Geraint. Their swords clashed with a crisp ring. Cece, after all, was a girl, her strength no match for a man's. Her sword was easily knocked away. Seeing the disparity in their strength, Mayer quickly turned her horse around. She grabbed Cece's arm, pulled her onto the horse, and galloped away. Mayer used a thornbush spell to impede the Ghost Soldiers, preventing them from catching up. Watching the fleeing figures grow increasingly distant, the Ghost Soldiers were helpless. Geraint raised his bow, about to shoot an arrow, when Cece's voice suddenly flashed through his mind. He stopped. Only after the thornbush disappeared did he order his men to pursue. They finally made it back to the convent. But the convent is full of families. They can't handle the Ghost Soldiers. "We have to go around to the town. They won't cause trouble there." Cece nodded obediently upon hearing Mayer's words. They went around, but nearly ran into their pursuers around the bend. Mayer forced herself to cast a spell, but the enemy outnumbered them, and Mayer's magic was limited. He hadn't expected to be pursued so closely. He decided to let Cece continue running without stopping. He then leaped from the horse and lunged at the pursuing Geraint. The momentum carried them both crashing through the library window opposite. They both tumbled inside. Mayer sat up, wincing in pain. Footsteps approached. "Really? Why are you always covered in injuries every time I see you?" Mayer's eyes widened. "Mosian? What are you doing here?" Seeing her wounds, Mosian remarked, "All that good medicine wasted." Then, puzzled, he asked, "How did you become a nun in just a few days?" Mayer, remembering the situation, tried to break free from him to deal with the troublesome Geraint. Mosian told her not to push herself. "Leave the rest to me." He placed her on a nearby sofa. Then, his eyes filled with killing intent, he looked at Geraint. "You did this." Mosian showed no interest in Geraint's identity. He swiftly drew his sword and, with incredible speed, slashed across Geraint's chest. With a single move, he left Geraint helpless, sprawled on the floor. Mayer stared, dumbfounded. The scene shifted. Mosian was removing the arrow from Mayer's wound, shyly offering to apply medicine. "It's not like it's the first time." Mayer didn't object. "Bear with it. This is Mogath's special ointment. It has some vine sap. It's very effective and won't leave a scar," Mosian gently reminded her. For Mayer, who had endured the pain of being burned at the stake, this small pain was nothing. As soon as the ointment was applied, Mayer continued to question Mosian. "Why are you here?" It turned out he was looking for a magic book. It said this book contains the holy magic used to save the world long ago. He handed the book to Mayer. "Maybe you can see something." Mayer carefully examined the book. Although the material and writing were ancient, it appeared to be an ordinary Bible. Just as she was about to reach a conclusion, holy seals slowly appeared within the book. Mayer still had unfinished business and no time to study it closely. She returned the book to Mosian, telling him it did indeed contain traces of magic and that she would help him study it thoroughly when she had time. After Mosian explained his purpose, he, in turn, wanted to know why Mayer was pretending to be a nun. Mayer hesitated, unsure where to begin. Sister, I've come to save you." At that moment, Cece burst through the door, sword in hand. It was all for him. Mayer, seeing Cece, finally found a place to start her explanation. Cece quickly ran to Mayer's side, then looked at Mosian. "This is my brother-in-law, Mayer. Tell her not to call me that." Now that the crisis was over, the real show was about to begin. So Mayer led Cece back the way they came. Meanwhile, inside the chapel, Mia, the third young lady, stood among the lively crowd, but her face was filled with worry. She seemed to be pondering something very serious. It turned out that Lilith had just told her that while passing by Vivian's room, she overheard Vivian and a guard plotting to drug and rape Cece. She hadn't believed it at first, but Lilith sincerely claimed to have heard with her own ears that Vivian was doing this to usurp Cece's position. Mia then believed her and wanted to warn Cece immediately, but Lilith stopped her. Lilith seized upon this as a perfect opportunity. She flattered Mia, saying that in terms of both character and ability, she was the most suitable for Cece's position. As long as Cece was harmed and Mia stepped forward to expose Vivian's wickedness, the position of Prime Minister's daughter would be hers for the taking. Hearing this seemingly flawless plan, Mia was tempted, but still hesitant. Lilith continued to whisper in her ear, saying that this was Vivian's own fault, and promised to help bribe the guards to deal with Vivian as well. Then, as long as Mia persuaded their mother and brought everyone to the scene, with everyone watching, the two disgraced young ladies would have no chance to recover. This way, she could effortlessly obtain Cece's position. After a period of internal struggle, Mia finally succumbed to the lure of power. So, she went straight to the Prime Minister's wife, pretending to be panicked. The Prime Minister's wife sternly ordered her to speak her mind, asking what was with all the Wang. Mia then leaned in and said that she had just seen Cece seemingly flirting with a guard. The Prime Minister's wife was furious at these words. Mia was frightened, but insisted that she had seen with her own eyes Cece actively kissing the guard. The Prime Minister's wife told her to stop and not say another word. Then, she searched for Hannah within her line of sight, wanting Hannah to find Cece. Mia realized that the Prime Minister's wife didn't want to make a big fuss. If this matter was resolved privately, then everything would be ruined. The thought of Cece's position almost within her grasp, Mia went all in. She raised her voice and said, "Mother, I really saw it with my own eyes. Eldest sister was flirting with a guard and even went out the back door. If you don't believe me, let everyone here witness it. Let's all go to the back hill and catch them in the act." Everyone present stopped what they were doing in shock. The Prime Minister's wife's face darkened. "Since that's the case, then let's all go to the back hill and see." Mia, believing her goal was achieved, felt smug. Unexpectedly, the Prime Minister's wife seemed to see through everything, staring at her with cold eyes. "Mia, for your own selfish desires, you disregarded the reputation of the Prime Minister's family." Mia panicked and wanted to explain, but found no justification. At this moment, Lilith solicitously went to the Prime Minister's wife's side to support her. Turning back, she didn't forget to mock Mia, this pawn. Mia was now Kanzua Zaidi. She still didn't know she was just a pawn. Arriving at the back hill of the chapel, they saw the tied-up bandit posing as a guard, and Hannah crying miserably while holding Vivian. The Prime Minister's wife frowned, demanding to know what had happened. Hannah sobbed, saying she didn't know what happened. She only knew that Vivian had been abducted and assaulted. Cece, in order to save them, fought off the bandits, but was then ambushed, and they all fled towards town. Hearing all this, the Prime Minister's wife couldn't determine the exact truth. After a moment of thought, she ordered Hannah and Vivian to be escorted back to rest. All other parties were to search for Cece in the direction of the town, ensuring her safe return. Then, she turned back to Mia for an explanation. Seeing this, Mia dropped to her knees. She asked fearfully, "Why is this different from what we agreed upon?" Hannah said they were abducted, yet you claim to have seen Cece having an affair. Cece risked her life to save her two sisters, and yet you slandered her. Mia, what are your intentions? The Prime Minister's wife loomed over Mia, demanding an answer. Mia suddenly realized she had been used. She pleaded with the Prime Minister's wife, saying she had been framed. It was all Lilith's plan. Lilith told me to frame eldest sister. Everything was Lilith's idea. Lilith immediately started crying, feigning innocence. Third sister, how can you falsely accuse me? I never knew anything about this. I can take the blame for other things, but framing eldest sister is a grave sin. I wouldn't dare take responsibility for you. The Prime Minister's wife is already very displeased with Mia's behavior, which disregards the reputation of the Prime Minister's manner. She certainly won't believe her words now. Therefore, she decided to imprison Mia in the watered dungeon for reflection, on the grounds that Mia attempted to harm Cece and seriously injured her younger sister. Mia was dragged away by the guards, cursing Lilith resentfully. Meyer happened to return and witnessed this scene. It seems she missed a good show. It's a pity that she still couldn't completely ruin Lilith. Meyer was somewhat unhappy that she didn't see Lilith's utter downfall. Mosian carefully helped her take the medicine. Seeing Mosian's unfamiliar face, the Prime Minister's wife asked who he was. Mosian introduced himself very gentlemanly. He also said that he had done a favor by safely escorting the eldest daughter back. The Prime Minister's wife was very grateful to learn that it was the Azure Prince who had offered assistance. At this moment, Cece, having just experienced a near-death situation, rushed towards her mother upon seeing her. In the Prime Minister's wife's arms, although Cece didn't show any signs of weakness, her expression couldn't hide her worry. Then she ordered the servants to take good care of the eldest daughter. Immediately afterward, she humbly invited Mosian to go with her to the monastery. Thus, Mosian accompanied the Prime Minister's wife and left first. Lilith suddenly ran over and falsely said, "Sister, it's so good that you're all right." Meyer, however, unceremoniously gave Lilith a hard slap. Cece was a little surprised, not understanding why Meyer did that. Lilith, as always, pretended to be wronged and asked, "Why did this sister hit me?" "So dramatic," Meyer said, slapping her across the face again. Having been slapped twice by a nun for no apparent reason, Lilith finally dropped the act and started cursing. Meyer, however, directly grabbed Lilith's jaw, preventing her from speaking. Then, leaning close to her ear, she whispered a warning. "You escaped this time, but don't think I don't know about your schemes. I'll just wait and see what else you can come up with." After saying that, she pushed Lilith to the ground. Turning around, she warned Cece, "Some people are vicious and are experts at disguising themselves. Don't be fooled by their deceptive appearances. Their true nature is that of a venomous snake." Lilith clenched her fists. She realized that her perfect plan had been ruined by a fierce woman. She wondered who this nun was and secretly vowed to repay this humiliation 1,000-fold. Meanwhile, somewhere in the imperial capital, a mysterious man was elegantly painting. A trembling ghost soldier knelt before him. The man calmly questioned, "So, your entire plan was ruined by a nun. Even Geraint was sacrificed." The ghost soldier replied subserviently and then carefully explained, "Everything happened too fast. We clearly had the upper hand at the beginning. Who knew Mosian would appear halfway through?" Hearing about both a nun and Mosian, the man became intrigued. He then changed the subject, asking, "Has Hidewig been found?" Suddenly questioned, the Silverwing Knight was somewhat at a loss, but answered truthfully, "Not yet. He seems to have vanished into thin air." Vanished into thin air? The man found it unbelievable. The Silverwing Knight said, "I still suspect Mosian is hiding the princess." The man began to ponder seriously, Mosian again. He was at the Forgotten Forest, and he was also at the Levi Hall. A nun who can easily see through Lilith's schemes and even turn the tables to deal with the ghost soldiers. Such a sharp eye for a vice commander. Such a decisive style. "Is it you, my dear princess?" the man said, looking at the portrait of Princess Hidewig he had personally drawn. Having prevented the Levi Hall incident, Meyer sat alone on the roof, staring at the starry sky in a daze. Mosian also jumped onto the roof and asked her what she was doing there. It turned out it was also convenient for him to show his concern. Mosian asked her what she saw. Meyer pointed to Mosian's star and said, "Your star, clear and bright. Without me holding you back, your future is suddenly bright, isn't it?" It's not you who brought me light, Mosian suddenly said seriously. You said my fate was uncertain before, but it's actually because my days are numbered. Meyer suddenly realized, could the rumors about the Azure Prince having a strange illness be true? To be precise, I'm being eroded by black magic. When I was very young, I was cursed by a witch. Since then, I haven't been able to leave the hot springs of the Forgotten Forest. Every 4 hours, if I don't soak in the hot springs, my whole body will freeze and become icy cold. The witch cursed me to suffer until my 18th birthday, when I would be completely frozen to death. But on my 18th birthday, you appeared and saved me. Meyer was incredulous. How could it be that she was the one who had been beaten? Mosian continued to explain, saying it was because of her blood. That day at the hot spring, her blood had stained the pool. Since then, although her body temperature hadn't fully recovered, she hadn't frozen again. Meyer was puzzled. Could it be because of the ghost princess's simulated constitution? There were indeed legends that a witch's curse wouldn't work on another witch. Mosian then took out the magic book, saying his father had sent him here to retrieve it in order to completely cure him. Meyer took the book. This book had indeed intrigued her. It contained some kind of forbidden magic. She immediately opened the book and began to sense the magical energy emanating from it. And this energy, it was actually from her past life, from her birth, to becoming a royal tutor, to finally being burned at the stake. Meyer felt both pain and emotion. She hadn't expected Xingfu to still remember her. Mosian noticed Meyer's emotional shift and quickly asked her with concern what was wrong. And at that moment, Meyer's holy magic suddenly returned. Overwhelmed with emotion, she blurted out, "The cure written in this book is what?" Mosian asked urgently. Meyer suddenly came to her senses. She couldn't tell him everything about herself yet, so she made the excuse that the book recognized him as Xingfu's servant and imparted some healing magic that, "Oh, is that all?" Mosian sensed Meyer was hiding something. Otherwise, he asked suspiciously. Meyer had no intention of explaining clearly. Mosian, seeing her reluctance, decided not to press the matter. Narrowing his eyes, he said, "Fine. You're the boss. You've saved me twice, so your illness is my responsibility." Meyer spoke with an air of confidence. Mosian was to return to the capital early the next morning and was pondering where to find Meyer afterward. The capital? Meyer volunteered, saying she could go with him. So reluctant to part with me? Mosian never missed a chance to tease. Meyer, slightly embarrassed, said, "You're thinking too much. I'm also going to the capital. Think of it as me hitching a ride with you for my own business." Mosian sighed and said, "Better not. You're covered in injuries. You're in no condition for the journey. The Lothar family's baptism ceremony is in a day, and I'll be going to the capital then, too. Besides, their female attendants can take care of you." Mosian suggested Meyer travel with the Prime Minister's convoy to the capital. That way, it wouldn't be too strenuous. They agreed to meet in the capital later. "All right, then I'll see you in the capital." After Cece helped her dress, Meyer departed for the capital with the Prime Minister's convoy. The convoy slowly advanced through the forest. Lilith, furious that her carefully laid plans had been completely ruined, gritted her teeth. Now she had to travel to the capital with the nun. She was determined not to let Meyer off easily. At that moment, Cece was looking at Meyer with adoration. "Wow, Sister Vigo, you're so clever. Such a complex scheme, and you resolved it so effortlessly." Meyer modestly replied, "These are just common tricks used by noble ladies. They're nothing worth mentioning." Cece instantly became a little fan, declaring that from now on, Sister Vigo was her idol, even a tiny bit more than her brother. Suddenly, a wheel hit a rock. Cece nearly fell out of the carriage, but was caught by Meyer just in time. She quickly asked the guards in front what had happened. It turned out that flooding had washed out the road, and they had to take a detour. So they detoured through a remote, desolate village to find a place to rest. Cece found the place too eerie and felt a little scared. Meyer, hearing the constant coughing of passers-by, also felt uneasy. The Prime Minister's wife also coughed a few times after getting out of the carriage. Cece, worried, asked her mother what was wrong. The Prime Minister's wife simply said she was tired from the journey and would be fine after a night's rest. Cece was still worried and told Hannah to go rest, opting to personally escort her mother back to their room. Standing in the courtyard of their lodging, Meyer reached out to sense the air. she realized there was indeed something wrong with the air. "Sister Nun, I think there's been a misunderstanding between us." Lilith's voice suddenly interrupted her thoughts. Meyer glanced at her disdainfully. Lilith suddenly grabbed Meyer's arm, pleading to sit down and talk things over. Meyer, disgusted by her presence, struggled fiercely. Suddenly, she felt Lilith's grip tighten. Shocked and furious, Meyer yelled, "What are you doing?" Unexpectedly, Lilith shoved Meyer into the water. Meyer couldn't swim. The moment she fell into the water, she knew the situation was dire. Worse still, Lilith reached out and grabbed her throat. Looking as if she wouldn't stop until Meyer was dead, Lilith choked her. Meyer couldn't even utter a spell. In this critical moment, a flash of inspiration struck her, and she ripped off her metal vow badge. She slashed it hard across Lilith's arm, finally able to breathe. She then used all her strength to cry for help. Cece happened to be strolling by the shore. Recognizing Meyer's voice, she immediately jumped into the water and grabbed her hand. Then, she dragged Meyer towards the shore. Finally, Meyer was safe. The crowd of onlookers grew. Cece anxiously asked what had happened. Lilith, however, played the victim, tearfully saying, "Sister, I have no quarrel with you. Why did you push me into the water and stab me?" Meyer couldn't stand her pretentious and hypocritical act and cursed at her. Lilith pretended to be frightened and weak, hiding behind Hannah and saying, "No, don't hit me." The onlookers began to murmur, pointing fingers at Meyer, calling her savage and vicious. Hannah also looked at Meyer suspiciously. "Oh, you also think I pushed her?" Meyer asked, her eyes questioning Hannah. Cece, however, said rationally, "Impossible. Sister Meyer can't swim. Why would she risk her own life?" Lilith continued her act, saying, "If you say so, sister, then so be it. I wouldn't dare argue with you." Then, as if greatly wronged, she ran off. Meyer looked with disgust in the direction Lilith left, scoffing, "What a fake, innocent little flower." The crowd erupted like a bomb, some supporting Lilith and others supporting Meyer. Lilith, having run some distance away, stopped. Her expression instantly turned sinister and smug. She took a pill, thinking to herself with dark satisfaction, "I didn't expect to end up here by a twist of fate. It's truly heaven sent." Soon after, Meyer began to cough. She suspected that the water quality was poor. The Prime Minister's wife had been weak ever since arriving and had retired to bed early. This place was indeed problematic. Meyer coughed, uttering, "Holy light protect us," and then coughed up blood. Cece asked with concern, "It seems like poisoning. The air and water here are toxic. Madam is older and has weaker resistance, and I swallowed quite a bit of water, so the effects are showing quickly. And this poison is strange. Even the holy light can't cure it." Hearing about the poisoning, Cece became very anxious, saying they must find a physician. The innkeeper, overhearing their conversation, looked surprised and distraught. "All the physicians here are dead. Just last year, God sent down divine punishment. The Black Death ravaged the entire town. Many people died, including the physicians. The Black Death, this is troublesome." The innkeeper then told them they could go to the castle outside of town and find Baron Henry. "Although he's eccentric, he's a good man. He saved this town. My husband contracted the disease, and it was he who saved him. Unfortunately, he died of a heart attack just a few days after recovering." Cece suddenly gripped Meyer's hand. "Regardless of whether this Baron Henry is eccentric or not, I'll go and ask for his help now." Meyer, touched, said she would go too. And so, the two girls walked through the desolate and chaotic forest. "It's so eerie here." Cece felt a growing fear. Meyer suddenly reached out and told Cece to wait, not to move forward. Not far away, a dark figure stood. Looking closely at its face, it was a terrifying, hawk-like visage. Cece was so frightened she almost screamed, but Meyer stopped her in time. "Be calm." Then the two quietly approached to see what was happening. A group of mysterious people, all wearing masks, surrounded a platform. A sack was placed in the center of the platform. When the sack was opened, a human face was revealed inside. One of them raised a scalpel and stabbed it towards the person in the sack. Blood splattered. Seeing this scene, Cece screamed, thinking it was a monster eating a person. Crows in the branches were startled by her voice and flew into the air in flocks. The mysterious people looked in the direction of the sound. Meyer comforted Cece, "Don't be afraid. They're not monsters." At the same time, the leading mysterious person approached them. When he drew closer, he let out a gasp of surprise, then slowly removed the mask. And beneath the mask was a handsome, fair face. The mysterious man smiled. He addressed Meyer as, "Your Highness," which startled her. Cece continued to stare at him suspiciously. The mysterious man continued, "Seeing your highness safe and sound, I'm relieved." Meyer, seeing the man's face clearly, was flooded with Princess Wig's memories. It was the third prince consort. He told her there was no need for formalities and to just call him Torrance as usual. Cece was in disbelief. The sister she had always admired was the ghost princess. Meyer, embarrassed, began to apologize that, "I'm so sorry I kept this from you. I'm the old which you spoke of." Having spent so much time with Meyer, Cece felt that the legends of the wicked princess were all false. Her sister was so gentle and beautiful, not an old witch at all. Meyer gently stroked Cece's head and promised to allow her brother to return home and reunite with her. Torrance couldn't believe the princess could be so gentle. He then inquired which family Cece belonged to. "Cece Lothar, pleased to meet you, Mr. Lancelot." Upon hearing the Lothar family name, Torrance was shocked. Wasn't her brother the first prince consort? Lothar then whispered a reminder that they had gone to great lengths to secure his political influence, and now they were simply discarding it. Meyer retorted confidently, "Forced loyalty isn't true loyalty, is it?" Torrance was bewildered. Was this really the princess? When did she become so reasonable and gentle? Could she be ill? He even wondered if he was hallucinating. Then Meyer suddenly asked them what they were doing. Torrance snapped back to reality. He explained that he had heard about the Black Death outbreak here and had contacted several renowned physicians, hoping to help. Meyer nodded approvingly and asked about the results of their investigation. "No clue. The epidemic here is different from elsewhere. Logically, late spring and early summer are the active periods for rodents. After spreading throughout the summer, the epidemic should peak between August and October and subside in winter. But here, it's completely different. The Black Death actually erupted fully in winter, with no period of abatement throughout the year. Moreover, Black Death patients usually suffer severe lung damage. But we dissected several bodies, and their primary damage was to the heart. The suffering of the common people weighed heavily on Torrance. As a physician, he felt responsible for his inability to help. Cece asked why they hadn't sought out Baron Henry. Seeing Torrance's confusion, Meyer explained, "We've also been infected. Lady Lothar is already bedridden. The innkeeper recommended we seek out Baron Henry, saying he has a cure." Hearing that the princess was also infected, Torrance anxiously grabbed Meyer's hand and said quickly, "Let me examine you." Meyer immediately withdrew her hand. Slightly embarrassed, Torrance apologized for his abruptness and then took out a stethoscope. He asked the princess to turn around so he could listen to her heartbeat and lungs for any abnormalities. After all, the Black Death was not to be taken lightly. Meyer obediently complied. As Torrance listened, his thoughts lingered on the princess's hasty withdrawal of her hand. He realized that she was indeed different. In the past, even if she wasn't sick, she would feign a fever and act coquettishly, urging him to treat her and finding ways to be close to him. He had been resistant to these advances before, but today he felt a strange sense of loss. Seeing that Torrance hadn't finished his examination, Meyer asked if it was serious. Torrance finally focused and listened attentively. "Your heartbeat and lungs sound normal," he replied, then suddenly exclaimed in shock, "The death mark's heartbeat is gone." Meyer hadn't expected him to know about the death mark. She casually replied, "I dug it out." Torrance was instantly aghast. "You dug out the death mark? Is there something special about it?" Seeing the princess's calm demeanor, Torrance sighed, "That if you weren't standing here before me, I would truly doubt you were the real princess. The death mark was something you implanted yourself to pursue Vichy. I strongly advised you to remove it, and you even imprisoned me in anger." Vichy. The name felt both familiar and foreign to Meyer, but she couldn't place it. Torrance was incredulous that the princess had forgotten Vichy. He anxiously asked her what had happened during her disappearance. Meyer, still struggling to recall the person, said with a pained expression, "I was betrayed by Godwin and lost my memory. I'm trying to remember who Vichy is." Suddenly, images flashed through her mind. "Do I look beautiful like this? Your Highness is always beautiful. Vichy, I want to marry you. I can distance myself from all political affairs with the other consorts and be a devoted wife to you." Her Highness, Princess Wig, has striven until now to assist the court and uphold the nation's prestige. How could she simply give up? Myers suddenly snapped back to reality, though she couldn't recall how many times she'd thought of him. It seems the Ghost Princess is deeply attached to this Vichy. But Vichy ultimately betrayed her, revealing the location of Death Valley to the Ghost soldiers. All men are scum. Hidewig, I will avenge you as well. Meyer made the decision for both of them. Seeing her distress, Cece inquired about Meyer's condition. She simply replied that some unpleasant memory fragments had flashed through her mind. Lance suggested she return to the imperial capital and immerse herself in familiar surroundings, hoping it might help her memory. Meanwhile, Cece, looking worried, asked Lance about her sister Hannah's condition. Although her heartbeat and lung sounds are normal, she's very weak. The symptoms of the Black Death here are quite strange. Even I'm somewhat at a loss. Meyer suggested that Lance join them in seeking out Baron Henry. Perhaps he could offer some insight. Soon, the three of them arrived at the town gate. The line of those seeking treatment stretched far into the distance. Suddenly, a maid came out and rather rudely called out, "Next." Instead of being angered by the maid's attitude, the patient knelt at the door, kowtowing to Baron Henry. Seeing this, Lance became furious. How could a physician so insult a patient? Cece whispered a reminder. The innkeeper said Baron Henry has a temper. Focus on getting treatment. Don't provoke him. Suddenly, a patient rushed out of the room, excitedly proclaiming their recovery, looking as if reborn and practically bouncing with energy. Lance was shocked. How is this possible? Even a miracle drug couldn't restore a Black Death patient to such robust health. Meyer also found this recovery exaggerated. Only Cece looked on with admiration, praising him as a divine healer. Hearing this, Lance, the imperial capital's foremost physician, shot her a look. Cece suddenly realized her words were problematic. She quickly explained she hadn't meant to be sarcastic. Lance then pushed through the queue to knock on the door. The person inside yelled, "If you want to see the doctor, get in line. Stop making a racket." In the Holy Otto Empire, I am Lancelot. Having heard that Baron Henry has considerable knowledge in treating the Black Death, I have come to discuss and learn. Unexpectedly, upon hearing Lance's identity, Baron Henry actually let them in. Inside the castle, the maid asked them to wait a moment. The Baron would be with them shortly. Curiosity getting the better of her, Cece began to rummage through the room's belongings. Meyer told her not to touch anything. If Miss likes it, feel free. A voice suddenly came from the doorway. It was the castle's owner, Baron Henry. "Lancelot, your reputation precedes you." Lance was about to politely return the greeting, but Henry ignored him completely, brushing past. He reached out and grasped Meyer's hand. "Baron, this behavior seems rather inappropriate," Lance said, anger in his voice. Henry, however, was unconcerned. He sniffed Meyer's hand. "This young lady is infected with the Black Death. We must treat her immediately." Cece exclaimed, "Baron, you're amazing. You knew just by smelling her hand." Hearing this, Henry suggested that since Cece had been in contact with the patient for so long, she should also be examined. He then ordered the servants to prepare the operating room and take the two young women there. After witnessing this, Lance felt that Henry was indeed rather peculiar. Leaving the room, Henry walked directly into another. They've arrived. Exquisite, truly exquisite beauties. So beautiful, I almost succumbed to temptation on the spot. It would be a shame to simply kill them. Henry's face took on a lecherous, sinister expression. He was a member of the Ghost Soldiers, stationed here on Lilith's orders to await Meyer. And the one who gave him the order was Lilith. Lilith, it doesn't matter what this old pervert does to them, as long as they don't leave here alive. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe.